Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're all fantastic. We're on the AXFX 3 today, and I've got my big, greasy live preset here that I've been using for quite a while. If you've tuned into any of my live streams recently, you would have seen me use this preset a lot and talk about different elements of it. It looks pretty daunting at the moment, but I want to deconstruct it and actually rebuild it in a slightly more efficient fashion now that the AXFX 3 has the gapless switching update between blocks, channels, and presets. So well, let's just dive straight in here. If we consider the amp, the gate, the cab, the parametric EQ, and the multiband compressor as one kind of chunk, that is the tone generating aspect of this preset. I then have this chunk over here that's kind of all my wobbly stuff and delay stuff. Then I've got a London plate reverb over here for a little bit of ambience. And right at the end of the chain, I've got this dual chromatic pitch block doing some stereo detune. This is in my blocks library. It's matched to an old Eventide H3000. I just love the way this particular H3000 preset sounds. So it's replicated in here. Do I need this? No. Can I have it? Yes, that's why it's there, but I'll bypass it for now. I'll get rid of the ambience, ignore all of this stuff, ignore the stuff up the front, ignore this little kind of parallel chain here. It's doing a kind of Rockman inspired clean thing at the moment. Basically amp, gate, cab, parametric EQ, and multiband compressor are the important tone generating aspects. I'm going to toggle the multiband on and off so you can hear what it's doing. All right, pretty straightforward on there. That is set up essentially doing the Andy Sneap dynamic EQ trick. I've got videos about this one, and you can just grab this one from my blocks library. If you get it in the blocks library, it is called Titan, and you can pretty much just adjust the threshold on the midband to get it working for your rig. The parametric EQ has a high cut and a low cut and a few very subtle surgical cuts in here. I've actually been going back and forth between this and just using a low cut at around 80 Hertz and a high cut closer to 5K. A big shout out to my buddy Angus Clark, who we had on the Gear podcast recently. Angus plays with Trans-Siberian Orchestra in arenas, and he was saying that they kind of settled on around 5.1K for the high cut in the cab block, and it sounds amazing. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do here is remove this parametric EQ. Let's shunt that. Let's add the reverb and the pitch detune back because I like how greasy they sound. What I'm going to do in the cab block preamp is I'll set the slopes to 12 dB per octave, and we will just go 80 and 5100. Now this preset is designed to be played really, really loud. So if you're listening like on your phone or on headphones, it might sound not bright enough, but believe me, once you get this to stage volume, it is plenty bright enough. So that's without the parametric and with the high and low cuts just in the cab block. So I'm getting rid of a block in here. I've got so much headroom on the 3. I'm actually on the 3 Turbo. I don't need to take that out, but there's definitely something about looking at a preset that has a lot of blocks and going, I could make this easier. So let's just hear that. This is going to be very volume dependent. If I was just going to play this at low volumes, I would probably leave the high cut closer to 8 or 10K in there. But at stage volumes, not having all that extra sizzle, I have found this works really, really nicely. I've been doing a bunch of gigs with the high cut around there. So that's the first thing that I would change. The next thing that I would change is in the amp block, I am switching between scene 1 and scene 2 from my big dirty tone to an even dirtier tone by kicking in the input boost and the fat switch. And these are both assigned to the same control switch in here, control switch 1. And then in the controllers tab, I've set up the control switches to come on and off per scene. So on scene 1, the control switches are off. On scene 2, they are on. So when I switch between them, what's happening is I'm engaging a multitap delay for my lead delay, but I'm also getting more gain up front, and I'm getting the fat switch on, which kind of changes the character of this Boogie Mark IV model in here, smooths it out. It just makes it nicer to play lead guitar on. In the output block, I've Now that is already seamless in there. With the new update though, I can change channels on the amp block. So what I'm going to do, rather than have a control switch assigned here and not be able to turn these on and off manually, and if I want to change the nature of the control switch, I have to navigate to the controllers tab over here. I'm simply going to do this. I'm going to copy channel A to channel B. And then on channel B, I'm going to turn the input boost and the fat switch on. Then I'm going to save scene 1 on channel A over here. And I'm going to switch over to scene 2. You can see at the moment it is saying, hey, channel A in the amp block is what I want in scene 2. I don't want that. I want channel B over here, which has the boost and the switch on over there. So let's turn that one on. I can basically see what's on and what's off without having to use modifiers. I still don't mind the control switch approach in there. It's just one less menu to click through over here to get what I want. So let's check that. Okay, that works. It's basically doing exactly the same thing. Again, I don't have to use control switches in there. I can just use channels on the amp. And the advantage of using channels on the amp is that if I wanted to, say, tweak the actual gain levels or the EQ on the amp for my lead scene, I can do that as well. Instead of having this output block turning the scene level up, I could have the amp block level go up as well. I'm not going to do that because feeding into a multi-band comp still makes more sense to use the output block scene level to me, but nevertheless, we could do that if we wanted to. The next thing that I want to do is consolidate my rhythmic delay, which is on scene 3, into just a single multi-tap delay block. So at the moment, the multi-tap is doing my lead delay and the regular delay block is doing a rhythmic delay over here. Let's hear it. Alrighty, let's get rid of this block over here. And what I'm going to do is change to channel B on the multi-tap delay. I think what I'm going to do is just go into my library and I'm going to take my lead delay. I'm going to turn the mix up to 100% because I'm running it in parallel. I will set the mute mode to mute effects in over here. And what I'm going to do is actually turn the level down on these first 2 delay lines. They're providing some chorusing for me. Then delay 3 and 4, I'm going to set to a dotted 8th note on both of them. I will set the feedback on both of them to the same value over here. So let's go 30% there. I'm actually going to drop the level just a little bit. Let's try, say, -2. And I will engage this and save it. Now I should have a dotted 8th rhythmic delay. Now the EQ is a little bit different between that one and the vintage digital delay that I had before. I can change that if I like. I can go to the EQ and you can see there's a pretty savage high cut there. So maybe let's go for 8K on the high cut and let's go to the More tab and I'll turn the diffusion down on this one. Let's have a listen to this now. Alrighty, that is consolidated into a single block. The next thing that I'm going to do on scene 4, I have a rotary block that I'm using over here. And again, I'm going to change this out for a multi-tap delay. So let's shunt the rotary over here. Let's go to the multi-tap delay. We'll go to channel C and I'm going to bring up this Rotary setting from my blocks library. Again, I'll just adjust the mix and the bypass mode because I'm running in parallel. I'll kick this one in. And again, this is kind of like close enough is good enough for the use case I've got here. Let's have a listen to that. I'll hit save on that one. Now I've got my wobble scene sorted out. Next, we can talk about this little row up here. I'll go to scene 8. So this is essentially my Rockman inspired clean sound. I've got a 5-minute tones video about this, but the parametric EQ here is essentially converting my humbucker sound into a single coil style sound. If you go to my blocks library, again, you can use one of the humbucker to single coil settings in here. This filter in here is just a tilt EQ, again, kind of copying what a Rockman does, and then a nice squishy compressor. See, this is running into a dedicated chorus block. I'm gonna shunt that chorus, and you guessed it, I'm gonna go to the multi-tap delay. We'll go to channel D this time. I'll go to the library, I'll bring up this chorus setting in here, which is gonna give me a quad chorus. Again, adjust the mix and the bypass mode over here. I'll engage it, and now I have a lovely crystalline clear chorused clean sound. To finish things off, there's a few sounds that I don't think I can really simplify. For scene 5 over here, I'm using this filter as a lo-fi pre-programmed filter sweep. So what's happening here is I have an ADSR block attached to the frequency parameter of this resonant low pass filter. You can see I've turned the Q up a little bit. In the controllers tab, I have tweaked the ADSR to essentially give me this preset curve in here. I basically just timed the part of the song that I need this for, and the attack, decay, and sustain add up to that length of time in there. So when I play this, this is what I get. And I can seamlessly switch from that back to my main rhythm scene. I use this in a ragdoll song called Russ. For scene 6, I am using a plex delay running into a 16th note tremolo. This is set up to mimic the Eventide Undulator effect. I've got an Eventide Eclipse, and I actually went and looked at how that algorithm is built on the Eclipse, and it's basically a plex style reverb. I copied the times from the Eclipse into the times on the plex delay over here, ran it into a 16th note trem, and I used this in a song called The Last Time for this kind of psychedelic bridge section. What I'm going to do there is actually change the reverb over to channel B. I'll bring up the Ursa Major settings again from my blocks library, which are going to give me a big shimmery reverb. I'll hit save on this one. So I'm changing the reverb just for this scene. Check this out. That then kicks into a solo where I use a variation of the lead scene. I've just got the ring modulator in front of the amp with the pitch tracking set to on, frequency multiplier to 1/2, and that gives me that funky octave down effect. Again, check my library and just use the Octaver setting in there and you can grab that one. So I actually feel pretty good about this. I consolidated a chorus, a rotary, and a delay into a single multi-tap delay block in there. The parametric kind of got incorporated into the cab block based on what I've been doing live recently. I've got the ability to get around using control switches and have something, I guess, which is a little easier on the eye, and it's easier to dial in workflow-wise in the amp block. I've got the option to have a big pitch-shifted reverb on that psychedelic scene if I want it, and everything is gapless. It is a beautiful thing. I will put this preset up for you to download. If you want to try it, you can grab my free IR by checking the video description. And if you've got any other questions, let me know in the comments section below. Of course, if you want to support my channel directly, you can go and check out the music that I make with my band Ragdoll, or sign up to my Patreon. And I'm going to play you all out with the lead scene on this. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.